Well, I'm excited today, and I'm excited about my onions. So let's talk about it. Well, all right. Now, I've gardened. I gardened for years when I was a young man, and when I was raising my kids and so forth. And back then, I lived out in the country, and I did what a lot of people do. I had a tiller. I had a neighbor with a tractor. We could plow up a little bit in the fall, and then I'd till it, and I'd do the whole thing. Well, I got to where I wasn't gardening anymore for a few years there because of things, just life happened. Working, bringing home a paycheck, a lot of things to do, raising kids. Didn't have the time. But one thing that always eluded me is I had trouble growing an onion, growing a bulb, that I could pull out and slice up and put on a hamburger. And I like onions. I want you to know I cook. And, you know, I am the kind of person that I feels like if it's not ice cream, it ought to have onions on it. So that always bothered me. I'd plant them. Usually I planted the little sets, and it seemed like they always went to seed. Time or two I planted the plants, and they did okay, but not real great, and they never did quite make a bulb. So over the years, and especially the last 3 or 4 years since I've started this garden, and now I'm retired and I've got more time, and now it's really been fun and been a blessing this year. But I've learned some facts I didn't know, and have compiled a couple of methods that for me now has made it this year. My onions are starting to bulb up. I've got stuff that's, ping pong ball size, and they're still green and growing and putting on leaves, and they're going to get bigger. So let me tell you what things I figured out. All right, there's a couple of facts about onions that not everybody knows. One of them is that onions are biennial. They live for 2 years. So they're going to come up, they're going to grow the first year, they're going to come back the next spring if they're still there. And the second year, the point of them is that they want to go to seed. They want to make seed. So I never had thought about it, but come to think of it, that's what kept happening to those onion sets. Those were dormant when you get them. So you put them in the ground. They think it's their second year, and it may be. I don't know whether they raise them early that spring, dry them out and let them go dormant, or if they raise them the year before in the fall. But anyway, they're dormant. You put them in, they sprout, they start growing again. They think it's their second year. So anything goes wrong, and there's always something to go wrong. The weather, you get busy, you don't water things the way you want to, whatever it is, boom, they go to seed. All right? And the other thing I learned, which I hadn't thought about, never knew, but it was right there on YouTube and on the internet for me to research and find out, was that onions come in 3 basic types. There is a short day onion, there is a long day onion, and there is a day neutral onion. And come to find out, where I'm at in the center of the country, what I need is a day neutral onion. Well, when you go buy a bag of sets, or you buy a bundle of plants at the discount store, the grocery store, wherever it is you pick them up, they don't tell you what variety those are. You have no idea. So I know I've probably planted onions half a dozen times that maybe were short day onions, and by the time I got them in the ground and they came up and started, we were already getting into longer days, and they just never bulbed. So those things have made a difference. So what I did this last couple of times that's finally working this year, well, two things. First of all, I didn't buy that stuff from the discount store or the grocery store. I ordered seed, and I ordered seed that I knew was day neutral seed. Candy onions were the variety that I ordered. And then I started them in the house about January, so that when I put them out in March, they were still pretty small, but they were the right thing and they were a live plant. And see, that's another advantage, because when I planted plants before, not only probably were they the wrong kind for my area, but also, they're about half dormant and sick when you buy them. So, they're dried out and they're in a little bundle. So you put them in the ground, they've got to recover from that before they can really start to grow and do good. Okay? Now, the last thing that I've added to my method, and of course, I do an always mulched garden. That helps keep the moisture there for them and keep some of the weeds down. You still have to pull some weeds, but it's not bad. And most of them, I just pulled some a minute ago absently while I was talking, and they don't pull hard at all, because they're rooted into the mulch usually, and not really down into the ground. And if they are in the ground's soft enough because of the mulch that they just drag right out with roots and all. So anyway, I added the idea this year of parting my mulch, planting my crop, and then instead of pulling the mulch back when it got up, what I did is I just filled that cavity and I used my rabbit manure. Now you could do anything here, okay? You could till a little, compost or manure into your soil. Or you could do like this and just use some light compost to backfill, and that way it's kind of like it happens in nature. That stuff washes into the soil every time it rains, and that lets them get going. So those are the steps I took. And like I say, I'm excited this year. I'm actually going to have bulb onions that I can put. They might not be huge, but at least, I've got something I can use. I didn't just grow a row of green onions again. So those are steps anybody can do, or do a variance of that, some version of your own of that. And that's what I do predominantly, okay? I go through, I watch other people, I listen to other people, I read things, and I always experiment. I'm always trying something different. Doesn't always work. Like this year I tried to grow peanuts. Well, I didn't do very good at that. I may try it again sometime, may not. But I keep trying new things, and when I find something that works, I kind of add that to my mixture of things that I'm doing. Things that don't work, okay, we move on. We tried it though. We know we got that experience. So, it's one thing to go to school for something and know all about it to start with. But sometimes learning on your own, trial and error, listening to other people, you kind of more tend to develop your own method that really works for you. So all right, that's it. Please subscribe if you're not. And I want you all to have a quality day.